The All-American Otaku Show.
Hello everybody, welcome to the All-American Otaku Show. Today's show is a review of the movie Godzilla Minus. This is not an anime movie like we normally talk on the show, or an anime genre, or an anime type. This follows into the idea of kaiju. A Japanese giant monsters, giant human beings, and various things like that. In some movies they call them titans. Godzilla Minus was created by the same people who did the original Godzilla movies, Toho. Godzilla Minus takes place in the ends of World War II between the Japanese and the Allied forces. The story centers around a kamikaze pilot towards the end of the war who did not want to die by kamikaze. He lands on this island to get his plane fixed and refueled. The kamikaze pilots usually go there for this purpose, but soon the mechanics realized there was nothing wrong with the plane. Its fuel is fine, its mechanics are fine. He stays on this island for a little while, and eventually at night Godzilla shows up. Godzilla shows up, wreaks havoc on the island, so one of the mechanics in his panics told the kamikaze pilot, get on this 20-pound gun, because you're the only one who wouldn't know how to shoot it. He gets on the 20-pound gun, but gets so afraid to shoot it because he thought it might just make the creature mad and might not have any effect on him. This leads to a lot of the mechanics getting killed by Godzilla, and eventually taken off the island and examined. One of the mechanics who survived gives the kamikaze pilot a envelope full of all the photographs of the mechanics that died and their family, to know that his cowardice, what his cowardice did. This was a very emotional part of the movie because it reflects on what they thought of kamikaze pilots who didn't do their task of dying and blowing themselves up for the country of Japan. This kamikaze pilot eventually goes to not New York, but Tokyo, and his old neighbor says, it's your fault my family's dead, it's your fault my kids are dead, because people like you who are too cowardly to fight, cowardly to die for your country, too cowardly die, that leads to us all dying and facing all these bombings. She said, there's no way I will ever help you. On his grief and his ashamed about himself, he meets this lady who has a baby, says, I need your help. Could you bring him in? He eventually takes her into his house, takes the baby and takes care of it. The neighbor eventually comes around and helps him take care of the baby. Eventually, the lady ends up getting a job in downtown Tokyo. Well, the kamikaze pilot eventually gets a job at helping and disposing of unexploded mines. There he meets his wooden ship. He meets the captain and a professor who comes very important later on. During this time, Godzilla shows up again, but this time more powerful and has the nuclear breath, because during this time, America was testing nuclear bombs, as well as other allies. Eventually, the nuclear test, not killing Godzilla, enhanced him, making him more bigger, giving the ability of nuclear breath. Eventually, Godzilla stomps onto the city, completely destroys it. Destroys the train that the lady is on of the kamikaze pilot. Thus thinking he is dead, so he goes to the grief and says, I want to destroy Godzilla for what he's taken from me. I don't care if I die. I have no reason to live anymore. But the neighbor who was taking care of the baby, who's now a little girl now, says he's coming back. He knows he has to take care of you. He knows he has a family. This leads to the idea of how we're going to take care of Godzilla. But more importantly, in Japan, it goes to deal with the problems of nuclear weapons, the problem of war, problem of just dying for your country but not truly living for it. Because during the kamikaze pilot days of World War II, the kamikaze pilots did not have ejector seats. So when they crashed into boats and various other things, they just blow up and die. In this case, even though he's saying, I want to be a kamikaze pilot and surrender there, it gets to the idea is, not only is it a good idea to die for your country, but truly live for your country. Truly live for the pride. Truly live for what's completely right. This is what this movie shines in. This also leads to what to do about Godzilla and problems of testing nuclear bombs and nuclear weaponry as well as nuclear energy. Japan has a history, a sordid history of nuclear weapons as well as nuclear energy. They're one of the few countries that got bombed twice during World War II by nuclear bombs. They also had a couple times where there was nuclear reactor issues that caused serious problems. In this movie, they decide to defeat Godzilla using science. And the kamikaze pilot says, I could distract him and I could lure him in, but please put this bomb right on this ship or plane. So when it comes down to it, I could crash into Godzilla, blowing him up. This leads to the idea is he really going to truly die? Or does he have truly anything to live for? And at the end, it comes to the final battle between the humans and Godzilla just to survive. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but I give this movie a 5 out of 5 stars. Absolute masterpiece.